Looks like we're up and going. Share. Copy link. Tweet it out to all my 9 followers. Facebook. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Alrighty, well, I'll quit that as well. Well, hello. So I haven't really planned anything at all in regards to this, but what I want to do is add Storybook to a side project. So Storybook is a tool that you can use to build out your UI components in this test environment. And you can use it. It's like a documentation tool as well. And I just got inspired, so I thought, what the hell, I'll give it a go. So first of all, let's just get the project up and running and see if we can get that far with it. So this is the project. So this is my dad's website. He does 4 drive tours in New South Wales. He's not doing too many of those at the moment, but that's the business that he does. And so this is a website I built in React using Next.js. It's all the components and all the different UI elements that you see. I built it. It's a fully custom thing. And I just thought that'd be fun to add Storybook into this project, into like a hidden side of the website. I don't think I'm going to have... I do have some tag longs. Cool. So, you know, we've got some cool things. Like it's mostly a static website, but, you know, there's some things like, you know, we've got buttons and things like that as well, but like side-by-side elements. We've got these cards that represent the different tours. If I go into a detail item, if I can... Why is that not working? Anonymous arrow function. Oh, that's something we can fix as well. But what it should be doing, if I go on the actual live site, unless it's broken too. There we go. We have things like this countdown component. We've got different buttons there. We've got a contact form, and it's got a few more items on it as well, including these checkboxes. So most of the stuff is componentized already, but not in a documented fashion. Not that the documentation really matters anyway, because it's just for me, but just say, I thought it'd be a fun little opportunity to put some of the stuff into Storybook. So let's jump into it. So go to the docs. Now, I have used this a little bit in some projects as well, and even in React Native as well. But this is the first time that I would be actually going from the beginning, so let's go straight to the install script. npx sb init. Run this inside your existing project's root directory. Okay, we can do that. So let's go out here. Yeah, I think that we might be able to fix that. That's interesting. I've seen that one before. Okay, so I'll kill the server. So we don't really need the Next.js site running. We just need to, yeah, it's a whole nother app effectively that we're building. So if I just run that script, hopefully without the comment, and while it's running, I'll just check the other window. No viewers, that's all right. This is for fun anyway. Need to install the following packages SB. The hell's SP? Is not made for empty projects. Okay, hang on, I'll read on a bit. During the install process, Storybook will look into your project's dependencies and provide you the best configuration available. Install the required dependencies, set up the necessary scripts, add the Storybook configuration. Alright, let's try that. And we'll just let that run. Do you want to manually choose Storybook project type to install? We couldn't detect your project type, code undetected. You can specify project type explicitly via SB init. Do I want to run it inside? Okay, quick question. So this is a monorepo, and we have two main projects in it. The first one being our Next.js app that looks like that. And the second one is, but it is a third in another branch, but the Keystone-based GraphQL API. Now, I only really need Storybook in the UI code, and I haven't sort of extracted anything out to a design system, which I don't have to do. Like, I could do that. In fact, I could just run it in the root and then, like, everything, dig into the API, dig everything to the app code. Package JSON. Yeah, let's put it in the app for the moment. At least we can always move it later. Alright, so CD into the app, and we'll just run that again. You detected TypeScript files in your project directory. However, TypeScript is not listed as a product dependency. Really? Well, it's made some stuff, so that's cool. Where's it adding it? Stories. Okay. To run your Storybook, type yarn Storybook. Alright, so it's running on port 6006. Okay, and it's run that, great. Awesome. So it's got some pretty neat examples. You've got your base level molecule component, your button in various different forms, primary, secondary, weight, and different sizes as well. So they're all different variables. And you can obviously mix and match in here as well. You've got a header, which is a more complex thing, which we'll probably use the whole scale anyway, from your molecule components down to your organism, up to your, I guess this is an organism, and then you got multiple bits together. I'm talking about the atomic design from Brad Frost, I think. So anyway, header component with a logged in and a logged out state, and also a page which is a bit more complex as well. And you got logged in state. Okay, so you can define a user object. There's a function for on login, on log out. Yeah, this is cool. Okay. So what now? All right, let's look at these docs. I'm going to put that on the other browser tab just to keep everything together. And all right, so I've run that. Let's move that over. I don't need to see that. Okay, next, what is a story? Story captures a rendered state of a UI component. Developers write multiple stories per component that describes all the interesting states a component can support. So if I look at my project architecture, and like I said, I had no real thought or planning before doing this. So I don't know what we're going to get. So most of our components are just a single file. There's no, I mean, they definitely aren't just unique packages each, but they're usually just a single one-off file. Where's the bottom component? Card check. Card. Checkbox, contact form, input, link button. Probably a link button. I don't really have buttons. So yeah, this is a link button. Primary and secondary state. I don't know what that 0 is then doing that. That's weird. Need to fix that. This is our submit button, but that will probably be defined in the form, I guess, with the same button style hook. Let's try, what do we want to do? Let's do a side-by-side. That could be cool. So a side-by-side is, what's this guy right here? So we have a content block where you define an image. You basically pass an image, a heading, and I think maybe this is children. Doesn't have to be though. It could be a stack with an array of elements. But anyway, so 3 props, and you get this consistent layout, and then you've got a reverse prop as well. So this is the normal state. This is the reverse. I think this is an elevated version. So there's a few things we can change here. But okay, so there's a few things we can document. Let's try doing a story for a side-by-side. So one thing I might do is, and I will want to run the app again in a moment, side-by-side. So I'll make a side-by-side file, and we'll move that into there and call it, not yet, index.tsx. So yeah, we will change these imports. Great. So that probably didn't break anything because it's still everything that imports side by side. We'll be importing from that path anyway, so that's all good. Let's make a branch. Oh, the split terminal button's moved. Okay. So, git checkout, if I can spell it correctly. Git checkout dash B story book. Okay. So let's do our first commit here. So this is in the app directory, that's good. We're adding Babel core. We're adding a bunch of dependencies. Yep, that's fine. And then that. Now these .storybook files, we don't want them. So what we're going to do is add in our git ignore file, dependencies, build files. Let's go .next and then .storybook. Yep, so they're gone. That's good. So I'll add that to the git ignore. Will I add any of these? Stories, assets. No. I'll leave them for a minute. Yeah, I'll add them actually. Can always remove them later. So I'll add all that stuff, just not my side-by-side change. Yep. So let's go Storybook init. And commit. Come on. Alright, I'm just going to implement my... Where's that one? I'll put this down here. If I can. It's not updating. There we are. Cool. Sorry about that. Okay, so I committed that change. Now let's start writing a story. So, and I'll just put that in save change. So, yep, so rename side-by-side file, just basically put it in a new directory. So now what I want to do is create a story for side-by-side. So if I go to the example here, sorry, to the docs, we can say what's a story. I can do button.stories.jsx. Okay. So in this case, it'll be index.stories.jsx. So I'll just copy that template just to be a bit lazy. So I'm not going to import button, I'm going to import side by side. Component side by side, and let's just return an empty element. What does that look like? Does that do anything? Do I have to refresh? Do I have to make it look in a certain directory? Surely it just walks the whole file tree, right? Okay, am I doing something wrong? Title, components side by side. Okay. View the rendered button by clicking on the storybook. The above story can be further improved by taking advantage of the story's arcs concept. It just walks the whole file tree, right? I don't have to specify what folders it should look into. Install the stories in your package. Well, I can do it the way it wants me to for the moment. So I'm going to call that side by side stories.jsx from, I think that actually, yep. So that might work. Okay, something's wrong here. Pragma and Pragma frag cannot be set when runtime is automatic. Okay, so Storybook doesn't like the emotion JSX Pragma that I'm using here. I guess we just Google that, right? Storybook JSX Pragma. Bingo. Use emotion CSS prop in Storybook. That's not the same error. Motion Babel CSS prop. That's a Gatsby file. Storybook webpack config.js. One thing I might do as well before I get too deep is check if they've got an example or something. So, yep, so this is the Storybook GitHub repo. Examples. Surely they have an emotion one or something. React TypeScript Webpack 4. Assume it's that one. What's in this one? Storybook, React, prompt types, TypeScript. Main.ts. Storybook okay. That I didn't check. Didn't make any like index.js file, did it? Icons. Storybook React types. I did not expect to do this. config add-ons, configure. Integration Webpack. Storybook displays your components in a custom web application built using Webpack. Webpack is a complex tool default configurations tend to cover off majority of use cases. There's also some add-ons available. You can customize Storybook's Webpack setup providing a Webpack file field in Storybook main.js. Import JSON as JavaScript. I haven't got a clue. Storybook Emotion CSS. Storybook's Emotion is now the dominant CSS library. Motion Babel preset CSS prop. See, this is the time when I'd actually ask Mitchell for help, and this is the guy that actually works on Emotion. Or look at a client project. Pragma and PragmaFrag cannot be set when runtime is automatic. Alright, let's just Google that. Looks like that's it. Currently using barebones Next.js deployment of React 17, and I've added Emotion to the project. I want to test out the new JSX transform and run into several issues. Reset. The component I run a compilation issue in said file. My Babel RC file is set below. Yeah, configured globally. Am I using React 17 by mistake? Did it install? Oh. Did it install React 17 when I didn't want it to? Found React 17 too. Excellent. From Workspace Aggregator, Keystone App Admin UI. Simo's API depends on it. Simo's site depends on it. So do I have to change the way that I do that Pragma thing now? Maybe it's this. I have a feeling it's this. What are you yelling about? Cannot find module emotion react JSX runtime. So what do I import? The new version of Motion Core Motion and Babel preset will opting into the new JSX runtime using such configuration. Babel RC. Do I have that? This was not how I thought this night was going to go. Babel config.js. Okay, I'm going to look at something for a minute. So you won't be able to see this. Maybe I shouldn't have ignored that file. Usually when I see something with a dot in front of it, I think to ignore it. Okay, it looks like that's true. Okay, so let's not do that. And instead, just referencing another project. Stories. Oh, yeah. So that's how it picks what to import. And then add-ons. Use loader, Babel loader. That's for TypeScript. Is that for TypeScript files though? Oh, I'm using a TypeScript file. You know what? Let me try something else. Before I get carried away in that, I just want to get something. I just want to like get something made. So instead of doing side by side, let's try the card component. It's card. Right. So component is card. Title is components card. And just do that. And there's every possible chance that, okay, side by side stories. Oh, card. Okay, well that's an improvement. Element type is invalid, expected as string or a class function, but got okay, so I'm obviously not using props. Alright, so where have I used a card before? In my project. Specials, tag along. Alright. Let's try that. So much opportunity for improving the components. Alright. Check the random method of unbound story function. I'll just check that example again. Button, primary button. Nothing special there. Expect a string for built-in components for a class function of a composite components but got undefined. It's not fun. There's no errors or anything when it compiles. You're looking for to export your component from the file it's defined in. Export const primary. Am I importing it from in the right way? Oh, no, I'm not. Okay. Import card. Yeah, that was a problem. I wasn't importing it correctly. Okay, so what we have is a card, which is the green. It's the box with the outline and the drop shadow. It's got a green outline. And we don't have, because we're not wrapping this whole thing in the theme component, we don't have any of our fonts. Which that could be a really cool thing to systemize as well, like a heading component and some text component. Like, seems really trivial, but that would make a lot of difference. Okay, well great, we got a card component. It's a bit of a lame component, isn't it? Look, we're not even using the token. I could use my hex alpha package and set the opacity of our hex code from the design system tokens. All these wonderful opportunities. Alright, well that's something. And I don't think we're going to get a lot of... There's no real customization with that. It's literally just that's as much as you get. Countdown.js, divider, footer, header. What do I want to do? What's loader? Oh, loader's fun. Let's do a loader component. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to import it from the folder that the component's defined in. So I'll make a loader component, a loader folder. I'll drag this in here. And I'm going to rename it to index.js. Yeah, that path did change, so I don't have to touch that. Okay, so next we will make a file called index.stories.js. I'm just doing a JavaScript file because I don't really want to bother around with TypeScript config at the moment. I just want to make some stuff. So I'll open that up, put that there. I'll just put it below. Okay, so import React. I'll just copy that, can't I? Let's be lazy. Import, and I'm hoping it's exported like this. Loader from index. Define when never used. And then export default object component is loader. title is components loader. Primary is a function. Alright, so what happens when we get that? Nothing, because it's not walking that part of the file tree. So I want to load it from, I want to set up a new path. Okay. So I want to go components. It's basically just that, isn't it? It's just this one. Copy. Okay, so what this is saying is, so this whole object is, or it's an array, is defining all the different places where Storybook is going to import our components from. So first line is going back up a directory into our app directory, then into stories, and then with any folder in here, like in here and then also any directory inside of it, look for any file with .stories.mdx or .stories.js, JSX, TS, TSX in the name. So effectively doing the same thing, just with a components directory as well. It's going to walk through all of these folders looking for something with .stories.js in the name. Great. I wonder if that if they'll refresh. Not when I restart it. That's fine. Command failed. Broken build. What happened here? Pragma. Really? What's the cart component made of? Ah, right. Okay. Well, I need that because I'm using the CSS prop. Okay. This option seems to work. So towards the bottom. Basically works for me in motion 10. So if I have to use that, will that work? Probably not, I'd say. Huh. You didn't see that, but look at that. Okay. I think Mitchell mentioned that to me a while ago. So Mitchell Hamilton is one of the core contributors of the Emotion project. He also works at ThinkMill with me. He mentioned me something a while ago about using this kind of, like, the idea of using that JSX pragma wasn't really gonna, be around for be supported forever. I forget. I have to ask him tomorrow, but at least that seems to work. Just blindly copy pasting whatever comes from the GitHub issue. So that's good. So we have a card component, we have a loader component. Now, one thing I'd love to change is these fonts that are loading right now, because it's obviously using Times New Roman, just like the built-in browser default, because it doesn't know what it should use. So in the website, if I go back out to, I wonder how would I have done that? So this is our quote-unquote theme. Okay, get that out of the way. So global styles, body. So we're probably using a global component somewhere. Pages, yeah, in our app.tsx. Okay, so it's just importing global like that. So I believe Storybook, excuse me, getting tired. So I believe Storybook has the concept of wrapping your preview area in a theme or in some sort of provider. Story rendering. Adding to the head, adding to the body. This is exactly what we're talking about. Sometimes you may need to add different tags to the body. This is useful for adding some content, some custom content routes. You can accomplish this by creating a file called previewbody.html. Okay. Not quite what I want. Global layout. You can add this parameter to your global preview story like so, layout centered. Component layout, story layout, component, no, that's story rendering, interface, API. Stories for multiple components. Composition. Compose local storybooks. This is not, I think that's what I want at all. Setup. Now that you've learned what stories are and how to browse them, let's demo working on one of your components. Pick a single component from your project like a button, write a .stories file and go along with it. Okay, this is basically what we're up to. I look something like this. Import your component. Configure storybooks for your stack with permissive default configuration. Build configuration like Webpack and Babel. Runtime configuration component context. Oh, here we go. Okay, if a particular story has a problem rendering, often it means your component expects a certain environment is available to that component. A common front-end pattern is for components to assume that they render in certain contexts with parent components higher up the rendering hierarchy, for instance, theme providers, exactly what we're talking about. Use decorators to wrap every story in the necessary context providers. .storybook.preview.js allows you to customize how components render in Canvas, the preview iframe. In this decorator example, we wrap every component rendered in Storybook with theme provider. This is exactly what I want. Okay. Well, I can just copy that, right? Basically, we'll just tweak it. Storybook.preview.storybook.preview.js. Okay. There it is right there. Okay. Export const decorators, story, theme provider, theme default story. Okay. So it's not a... Oh, okay. So it's not a theme provider as such, it's a global component. Which really it should be a theme provider, but let's... Well, it needs to do both. Anyway, I can change so much with this project now, after looking at it. Okay, so what did I do in app.js? If I Scooch that over. Alright, so import global styles from theme, get a global component from emotion. Well, we don't want... Oh, I can just use React, probably. Can I do that and not use JSX? Maybe I should. Let's try that. Global theme provider. So we want to use a theme provider. That's not going to work actually. Let's chuck it in a div. Copy that. And instead of import theme provider, we're going to import global styles from dot theme. Something's wrong. All of a sudden I don't have Prettier running. Code formatter cannot format at previous storybook.js. Preview.js. Okay. Well, did that work? Did that do anything? Oh my god, it did! Sweet. Okay. So what that did is it gave us our background color. Never heard crows crowing at this time of night. Okay, so yeah, so it's giving us our background color, which is great. It's also loading our fonts, which I think that's Futura. Futura, yeah. The other font is a web font, so I'll have to, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I'll have to figure that out. But we've got a theme working, which is great. And I can go to my loader component and it will probably work. Sweet. Well, I'm about ready to call it. I think that's at least, it's a little win, but it is a win. I think that's pretty good. What have we achieved? So we've installed Storybook. I'm just checking the stream here. Yeah. So we've installed Storybook. We've worked out that I need to do some work with getting TypeScript to work probably, or at least the JSX pragma. Actually, run an experiment. I'll do one more with a TypeScript component and just see what happens. Components. Let's do the checkbox component. Okay. Let's try this. So I'm going to do this again. Whoop. Component. Checkbox. I'm going to put that in here and rename to index.tsx. Nice and easy. Okay, so the one difference we're going to have here is that's a TypeScript file. Otherwise, it should be basically the same as the other files. I'm going to be lazy and just copy that template. I'm going to write tsx. And I'll use this. checkbox is missing, label and on change. Okay, so label, accept on change, just do nothing, and value is false. Label string. The heck is, oh, checked. Check not value. Okay, does that work? Not yet. If we rerun, will it make a difference? Nope. Okay. Checkbox. TSX. Is it checking? It is. Stories.tsx. Stories.tsx. Yep, that's all good. Checkbox, components checkbox, primary checkbox, I accept. I didn't see any errors or anything. What if I pull React? Okay. Pragma fact cannot be set when running as automatic. I think I used the wrong. I did. Ah, here we go. Excellent. Looks a bit wrong. Checked is true. Okay. Well, that's cool. So I think this must be designed to be on a white background, which obviously isn't right because we don't want to have that tick in there. Lots of opportunity to fix this. Well, while we're here, let's dig into how we can make our stories even better. So, right, what's a story? I want to do a switch. Setup. Render component styles, load assets and resources. Writing stories. Ah, okay. So, what's a story is a component with a set of arguments to define how the component is to be rendered. Args is Storybook's mechanism for defining those arguments in a single JavaScript object. Args can be used to dynamically change props, slots, styles, and inputs, etc. This allows Storybook to add its add-ons to live edit components. Sweet. Alright, well, let's just copy this. So I just copy that basically as is. Label, I accept. Checked true. Hey. Oh, that's very cool. Alright, so what we just did, what I just copied really quickly, we created a template, which is just passing the args that is defined in the story to our checkbox. We then use that template when we create our primary story, which is our first story. We have as many stories as we want. And then setting the arguments for that story, we can say checked as true, label is I accept. And then we get that. And so we can set the boolean, true or false. If it's checked or not, we can change the label to, I don't know, sign me up. And there's no on change. So what can I do about an on change? Component args. You can also define args at the component level. Such args will apply to all stories of the component unless they are overridden. Okay, cool. So what I want to see is if there's some sort of like action, if I can like click it and does the on change. Setting args through the URL. Mapping to complex art values. Okay. Parameters. Parameters are a set of static named metadata about a story. Decorators. Rendering functionality. Context for mocking. Okay. I don't think this is what I want. Well, I'm going to call it there, but I think even with these three, these three components, we've got a bit of a win. So what we did is we set up, in summary, we installed Storybook in our project that didn't have Storybook before. We really have any sort of plan into, having Storybook there in the first place. We wrapped the whole story in our theme. We actually used our global component from Emotion to decorate the whole area, the preview area, with our theme. Now we get our font and our background color. We then created 3 stories: card, loader, and checkbox. And the differences with all those things were that one uses React and it's a JS file. Another uses, it's a JS file that uses Emotion, so use the Emotion pragma. And the third one was a TypeScript file, so they're all working pretty well. There's going to be more work to make sure I've got everything. I'm going to have to do some sort of Webpack config, I'd assume, or figure out what the correct way is to, if I really have to change the pragma for each of the emotion-led files. But then the other thing we did as well was made a story with some controls. So we have this one. You can change the checked to unchecked, change the label, and we've also identified that there's a lot of potential in the components for just a bit of a spruce up, I think. I think it'd be really cool if I can make this open to view as well for anyone to take a look at. When I'm more happy with, or when I've got some more components in and I'm happy with how they look, I'll probably make this on a subdomain or something and share it around with everyone. But yeah, that was a bit of fun anyway. That was a good hour or something. And now I'm just ready for bed. Yeah, well, that's it. So, thank everyone for joining, albeit for sporadic throughout, but that was a bit of fun. Thanks for joining me on the adventure anyway, and I hope you got something out of it. Hopefully, I'll do this again soon.